Hey guys, it's Bisa and I'm going to show you how I do my flawless foundation routine. So if you like it, keep watching. So this is me without makeup, for those who are nosy and want to know. Yeah, this is just me on a daily basis. I don't wear makeup unless I'm filming or going out, and unless I feel like it. Sometimes I just feel like putting makeup on. But generally I don't wear makeup during the day. As you can see, my face is slightly darker than the rest of my body. So the thing I have problems with is just finding a foundation that matches my skin tone, but also makes me look kind of one color. So I'm going to show you how I do my routine to kind of blend it all together, all the colors. And yeah, so I'm going to show you now. I start off with a primer, and I always use the L'Oreal primer, the Studio Secrets L'Oreal primer, and I just put that pretty much all over my face. And then I use the MAC Studio Fix Fluid in NW46. I do like 2 pumps. This foundation is quite orangey and I'm quite yellow based, but bear with me. It's gonna get worse before it gets better, but you know, just bear with it. Okay, so I just dot this foundation around my face. I use a round top brush from Sedona Lace, and I just buff that into my skin. I don't want it to sit on my face. I don't want it to kind of lie on top. I really want it to just blend into my skin. I actually do my eyebrows last, so I apply the foundation over my eyebrows as well. Then I add a concealer, which I never used to do before, but it's just so good. So I use the LA Girl Pro Conceal, and I just squirt that on the back of my hand, and I use the same foundation brush to work that in pretty much all the areas that get slightly dark around my face. So as around the mouth, and I make sure that I get in every crevice and every crease in my face, and I just work that in. Yeah, so blend, 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 keep doing that. Okay, then I use the Ben Nye, I think it's a colour wheel in Mojave, I think, but I will list all the products on my blog, but I think that's what it's called. I don't use the concealers because they're not very good, but I use the darker colours to contour. I start off with the darkest brown, and I suck in my cheeks, and I just apply that to the hollows in my cheeks with my finger. I'm not too kind of careful with it because I'll blend it later, but I just kind of draw the lines and then blend downwards with my finger, not too precise. Then I use the reddy brown, and I apply this all around the perimeter of my forehead from temple to temple. It looks really good when you've got your blush on and stuff. It just ties the whole look together. And then I use my foundation brush. I don't reapply any foundation, but I do just pat this on top of the areas which I've contoured so it blends. I then use the pointed foundation brush from Real Techniques and LA Girl Concealer, and I basically squirt that in the back of my hand, and I just pat this onto my chin, onto the sides of my mouth, and I stretch that area out just so that it doesn't crease up. And I also put it around my cupid's bow leading up to my nose. So basically creating kind of pale beard around my mouth. And then I use the Real Technique foundation brush, the normal foundation brush, and I use it dry, and I just blend this area out, and it's really good for this brush. Okay, so I blend, blend, blend. Then I go back to the concealer and I apply this to my forehead area. So I apply this around on top of my brow, but my camera cut out, so I couldn't show you. But basically, I apply it across this section and then blend it upwards a bit as well. And I also apply a bit along the bridge of my nose. And I just use that foundation brush again to blend this all out, so it's nice and even and doesn't look too dramatic. But yeah, I just blend. Okay, for under my eyes, I use the Stila Prime Pot in Caramel, and I apply this under my eyes, especially in the lower eye socket, and I basically get it into that area that catches the shadow the most. That's the bit that makes you look kind of tired, so I really work it into there, and I just blend this along and downwards. And then when it gets near the bridge of my nose, I just pat this in so it kind of is warmed up by the temperature of my hand. I like it to blend from the side of my nose to the highlight, so there's not like an obvious line. Now this primer is just really good for creating a really nice flat surface for the concealer to go on top of. It just works really well. Okay, so then I go back to that concealer and I just pat this under my eyes into that area where the shadow falls. And I kind of keep blending this out and down. And then I use that foundation brush to blend the edges again. Now I use the infamous banana powder, and I usually pour it into the cap, but I couldn't find it. So I'm pouring it into my hand, and I use a fluffy crease brush from Royal & Langnickel. But this brush is actually it's not very dense, so it works really well at applying the powder. Now what you have to do when you're applying powder under your eyes is really look stupid and stretch out your face. Like, you've got to really stretch that area out so it's completely flat, so it doesn't crease in that bit. And then I just apply this powder to the areas that I've highlighted. So forehead, around my mouth, under my eyes obviously. Yeah, and I just use that product. I use it well. Okay, for my eyes, I apply Dermacolor concealer in a dark kind of brown colour, just with my finger. And then I use a slanted synthetic brush. So I use this, and I use the Dermacolor concealer in a lighter shade. I apply this to define the brow area, and I just apply this like so. Now I fill in my brows afterwards, because I find after I've highlighted on top and underneath, it makes your eyebrows stand out so much that you realise you don't need to do too much to your brows. It just makes me not fill them up too much. It just makes me do what's necessary. And then I just blend this out with my finger. And this is just the base for my makeup. So every time I do a tutorial, that's what I've done beforehand. And also, filling your brows after you apply your foundation helps them to last longer. Like, my brows never fade because they're on top of the foundation and the primer. Okay, so now I'm using the Ben Nye powder in Sienna, which is pretty much my skin tone, I think. And I'm just pouring a bit in the palm of my hand, and then I'm using a flat top powder brush from Sedona Lace, and I am pushing this into my face. And yeah, I'm just pushing onto the surface of my face, into every single corner, like every part of my face. I pretty much apply my powder on top of the highlight as well, just so nothing stands out too much. So I also apply this to my neck. For some reason, I don't like foundation on my neck. I find it really weird, but I do powder my neck, and that helps to keep it all blended. Now I'm going to use my Sleek Contour Kit in medium, and I'm using the highlight and applying this to the bridge of my nose using my finger. And all this does is subtly contour my nose without being really, really obvious. It just looks kind of natural. It looks like the light's just catching it without being like, hey, I've contoured. Okay, and then I'm using the darker side, using the contour brush from Real Techniques. And I'm just applying that into the hollows of my cheek and also around the hairline area. Okay, so I do go powder crazy, so that's how I roll. But okay, so now I'm using a powder which is one of my random brands that I use. This is Island Beauty powder, and it's got a kind of orangey reddy tone. I like to have a warm look to my face, and I basically apply this to the perimeter of my face. But wait, Oh no, there's one more powder that I'm going to use. It's a Ben Nye powder in Topaz. Now this is kind of like an orangey tone, and I'm literally applying this to the transition areas between the highlighted areas just to make it all blend together. I'm not using it under my eyes, I'm using it on the cheekbones and the chin, and yeah, I don't do it on my head because that's enough on my head. Then I do my brows. Now I add my makeup and everything else, and that's the look. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you on my next video. I love you guys. Bye.